Ladies and gentlemen, what is up and welcome today to a little bit of a chat about the tier list update for February 2020. So there are three main things I want to cover in today's video, and the first one is the introduction of the two new champions in January, and that's Squirrel Girl and Nova. I want to talk about both the champions, what they do, and why I've placed them in their respective tiers. So we're going to get into all that fun stuff very soon. We also have a couple of very well-deserved promotions, and finally, I want to talk about the Abyss of Legends, some of the top performing champions, and just characters that are amazing for certain bosses and certain scenarios there as well. But before we get into all of that, I need to give the standard tier list disclaimer that this is a very rough guide to what I personally believe are the best champions overall in Marvel Contest of Champions. The game is just so incredibly complicated. There are dozens of different modes of gameplay and scenarios, and 160 different characters and like thousands of nodes in the game. So depending on all of these factors, certain champions really shine or they're just absolutely rubbish. So the game is just so complicated. So use this tier list for what it is, a very rough guide to assess what I think at just a glance, like how valuable champions are on a comparative spectrum. And yeah, use the YouTube search bar, do your own research into champions before making those very important rank up decisions, but just use this once again as a very rough guide. So now we've got that out of the way, let's have a bit of a chat about the two new additions, Squirrel Girl and Nova. So Squirrel Girl, I've been giving this one a lot of thought, and she's going in at my high demi god tier, and I think that's probably the perfect place for her now. I think maybe in the future, if the right nodes, the right matchups come out, she might be deserving of that god tier promotion, but I don't want to rush her into god tier until I've been like properly convinced that she is. So Squirrel Girl, I think she has like two really strong things going for her. The bleed damage is really good, and the instant bleeds are very satisfying to fire off. And she also has some very quirky combo meter building mechanics. So if you've got the awakened ability, she immediately starts with 40 hits on her combo, and every time you throw a special 3, it's like another 100 hits instantly on the combo as well. So her combo meter goes up ridiculously fast. And for certain nodes that are based off your current combo meter, this could be really powerful for like the combo party node, also that node where the opponent is indestructible unless you got 15 hits on your combo meter, really good for as well. And there might be a lot of scenarios in the future where this is quite a powerful ability to have. But outside of, you know, the good bleed damage and the quirky combo meter building stuff, I think she's very lacking when you put her beside a champion like Nick Fury, for example. I think just compared to Nick Fury, she's like a much worse version of Nick Fury. So she has some abilities, like while the scroll is on the opponent, the opponent can't evade and they can't auto block. However, this has like nowhere near 100% uptime, and if it does have 100% uptime, you're sacrificing a lot of damage with Squirrel Girl in the way that she's played and the aggression and the scroll transfer there. And just in my opinion, she's like okay, it's like a partial evade counter, but it's nowhere near as effective as somebody like Nick Fury or Aegon or Killmonger or like a ramped up Gwenpool or Spider-Man stealth suit once you get into the matchup. So it's okay, man, but it's really like nothing that special when it comes to being like a really solid piece of utility. Because Nick Fury, he just needs like one special one and then evaders cancel for the rest of the fight, whereas this is just a bit finicky, a little bit annoying to manage in like really high stakes evade matchups. So yeah, I don't really, you know, it's a nice thing to have, but it's nowhere near as powerful as it could have been. So I was like, a little bit disappointed by that. Also with the Sentinel synergy, it allows her to inflict shock instead of bleed against robots, and this definitely has some boss fights where it's quite good for. However, the shocks, unlike the bleeds on the special 2, they didn't pause, so they're much harder to ramp up, so you lose a lot of damage output in those matchups as well. And also, like, one of the modes of gameplay, like Variant 1, where she needs the synergy the most, you can't bring in Sentinel because he's a tech champion into the first chapter, so that's very annoying as well. Also, when the Squirrel attaches back to Squirrel Girl, she can purify all non-damaging debuffs, and this has its uses, but it's not anywhere near as immediate as like Nick Fury or Aegon when it comes to like purifying those debuffs. Aegon, like one crit and they're gone. Nick Fury, you can knock somebody down and like all your debuffs are gone there as well. So yeah, it's all right, man, but it's nothing like, you know, super crazy up there. Also, her block proficiency at its base is quite a bit lower than most other champions, but while she has the squirrel on her, then she gains more block proficiency, so it makes it about average then. But as soon as you got the squirrel on your opponent, your block proficiency is much lower and you take loads of block damage there. So yeah, that's just really annoying. I don't see why they had to have that mechanic in there, man. It just seems really weird. So yeah, it takes a lot of chip damage in longer fights as well. So again, maybe in the future, if the right nodes and matchups come out, I think she might be a god tier champion. But just thinking about it, like, two champions I already compared her to are like Nick Fury and Carnage, and I think in a lot of ways she is kind of like Carnage in the fact that she needs a very aggressive matchup, she has a lot of damage output, but not really any super reliable utility that you can 100% count on for a lot of different matchups there. She's maybe slightly better than Carnage because of like evade counter and also ability to stack up like a massive combo very quickly via her awakened ability and also special 3. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think she's much more around the level of Carnage and just very off the level of Nick Fury in every way that I can think about. Nick Fury is about 3 times the champion that Squirrel Girl is. So yeah, I think she's like an alright addition to the game. I really enjoyed playing her. She's very fun. I just wish she was a bit better than she actually is. So again, if the right matchups come out in the future and the right modes of gameplay, maybe room for a god tier promotion, but I think for now High Demigod is like a good starting place for Squirrel Girl until this champion is out for a little while. We can see if she's actually really useful for a lot of new challenges, or if she's like Carnage, a champion that seems like he's gonna be really great with all the damage output, but then because of like the lack of utility, is just not really a champion that's used in comparison to other characters. So again, she is still a good champion, man, still better than, you know, 60-70% of champions in this game. However, I just wish she had a bit more solid utility on top of the really good damage output there. But Squirrel Girl, man, it's certainly a fun addition, much better than I would say the second edition of this month, Nova. Now, Nova, he's got some, you know, small stuff going for him. His medium attacks, like, they hit very hard with that awakened ability and high signature level, and that's kind of thing with, like, both Squirrel Girl and Nova. Both of them, they ideally do need to be awakened and do need to be high sig champions, which for the amount of investment in a champion like that, you want a really big payoff, and none of the champions, like, really have like that big of a payoff for the investment in comparison to like other top tier characters up there. So that's like another level of additional disappointment there. But Nova's damage is fairly decent. He's probably better than about 50 to 60% of champions in this game damage output wise, but also he's very far from anything special as well. You can see like the top is just absolutely swarmed with cosmic champions. He does, however, have a lot of fury buffs, so for certain stuff in Alliance Quest like buffed up might be useful for a path there. Also his medium attacks are energy damage, so this allows him to take no damage back from Korg's rock shield, a very niche little counter there as well. Also off Nova's special one, he has a 7-second true strike, which is alright, but it's not really enough uptime to properly counter evade or auto block champions, so it's kind of like a worse version of Karnak's true strike. And Karnak is okay, but he's not really like anywhere close to viable and competitive for countering those evade and auto block champions. So yeah, just way too short, man. That really needs to be increased to make it viable to like 12-15 seconds, because 7 seconds is just like barely any time at all, man. Also with his base fury, it can be a little bit of a safety net because it can trigger auto block if you're dashing at the opponent, and if you've got his awakened ability, it can also parry, but then you lose the fury, so you lose a lot of damage output until it returns again. So it's not really something you want to do, but kind of like Medusa's awakened ability a little bit there. Also, he has a very small 24-second armor break against tech champions that can only trigger once per fight, so this isn't really like that useful, but it's, you know, a small thing. But the fact that it only triggers like once per fight, again, for bigger fights, just doesn't really make it that useful. And also for champions like Iron Man Infinity War, Red Skull, Warlock, all these tech champions that consistently gain armor, you know, it's just having it once is not really going to cut it at all. So overall, man, Nova's just very low on practical utility. He is absolutely no immunities as well, and this just puts him like in the shadow of about 15 other cosmic characters at least. So I was just really disappointed. It's kind of like they thought a lot about what is going to make Nova a bit of an annoying defender on certain nodes, but almost like no care was taken into making this champion actually interesting and viable and competitive with other cosmic options as a champion that you want to play. I think if somebody is playing the game like a year from now and gets Nova as one of their first like 3-star, 4-star, 5-star champions, it's going to be a fun champion to play. It's going to get you through some of the earlier stuff, but it's once you get to the a deeper end game in Marvel Contest of Champions that I think he's really going to fall behind for so many players and just wind up like permanently on Alliance War defense. So Nova was a massive disappointment for me. I really enjoy Squirrel Girl though. I wish she was a little bit better and just had the utility to go along with the damage, because again, Nick Fury has so much more damage than Squirrel Girl and so much more reliable utility as well. So yeah, alright additions, man. Like, not the best start to the year. I think they could have done a lot better on both of the champions, if I'm being perfectly honest. Anyway, now we've spent a decent amount of time highlighting all the faults of the two new champions, let's talk about a couple of promotions. So first up, we got Human Torch going straight to the Beyond God tier. Like, I took Human Torch to rank 5 a few weeks ago, just before the Abyss of Legends, and I had so much fun with him even before that. But in the Abyss, man, Human Torch just shines so much in those longer fights where you have a mystic opponent, any opponent with energy damage, or you just have like massive amounts of regeneration. Human Torch is just crazy for. He is so good. I've definitely been sleeping on Human Torch for far too long, but now I feel very awake to the power of Human Torch. He just has amazing matchups for Abyss of Legends Dormammu, Mephisto, Mordo, Mr. Sinister, Darkhawk, Deadpool, Gladiator Hulk for reversing that regeneration, Cable as well for the regeneration, Symbiote Supreme, Loki, Ghost Rider. Morningstar was a very interesting one just because he only has energy hits, so he doesn't make contact with Morningstar and thus doesn't trigger the bleed and gets the huge like smolder and damage from Morningstar being a mystic champion. And also Iron Man Infinity War. I had one of the craziest runs on my final path in the Abyss of Legends where he took about 73% off a 2.6 million Iron Man Infinity War, and that's just because his medium attacks are energy damage, so it's just giving you like loads of smolder, loads of temperature, and your incinerates being damaged over time are bypassing all the armor and just burning that man down. So yeah, that was a really cool matchup there. But Human Torch, he's just got a crazy amount of value in the Abyss, and I'm starting to see a lot of additional value in other modes of gameplay as well, like deeper in Act 6. And yeah, just having a lot of fun with this dude. But I think Human Torch has definitely earned his spot amongst some of the most powerful champions in the game in the Beyond God tier, at least for myself there. So a very well-deserving promotion. And then I wanted to move Colossus into the God tier. There has been a lot of hype, a lot of love for Colossus, and outside of videos and streaming, I've been playing mine and testing mine, and he is just like so much fun to play. He like starts off with a fairly decent level of damage output, but once you get this man ramped up, he just hits like a friggin' truck. He's got triple immunities as well to bleed, incinerate, cold snap, so an Iceman counter, Vision Arcus counter to all this crazy bleed stuff going on as well. And also with his armor, he's a very solid Havoc counter as well. well for a lot of different scenarios. A very high armor as well. You can get like an awesome special one chain stun, which is very useful for finishing off like all sorts of matchups and getting you out of very tricky scenarios where the opponent like might accidentally hit a special 3 in certain havocs there. He is also very, very tanky, so he's a lot of hit points and just so much mitigation with his armor. Like, somebody did a video that they posted, I think it's on Reddit, where it was a rank 4 Colossus versus Winter Soldier just on auto fight, and the rank 4 Colossus won because he was just so tanky. Because as soon as you throw like a single special 3, the opponent can't crit, and then because he's got like so much armor, you just take like no damage. So this guy, he is just god mode when you're playing him for all sorts of crazy content there. So Colossus is definitely a champion. Like, I liked him a fair bit after his buff, but just seeing him like work so well for so many different people in all sorts of modes of gameplay, from Act 5, Act 6, some of the variant stuff, uncollected, it's just made me have like a really solid level of appreciation for this champion's value. So I think Colossus is very well deserving of that god tier promotion. Then to round off today's tier list update, obviously in the last week and a bit we have had the release of the Abyss of Legends, the biggest challenge we've ever seen in Marvel Contest of Champions. And Aegon is just killing it, man. He's just so insane for 90% of the fights in Abyss of Legends. Like, as long as you've got Aegon, a bit of persistence and a dream, you can just slaughter so many different encounters there. He's the main ingredient to easy completion and easy 100% for a lot of players. But on top of that as well, Dr. Doom, I think, has really proven in the Abyss with the utility that he has and the very quirky power control mechanics and ability to control buffs and nullify, that he is arguably very strongly the best Mystic champion, man. I think he's overtaken Symbiote Supreme in a lot of people's eyes there. So yeah, Dr. Doom has just been doing so well for a lot of the big cosmic champions in the Abyss of Legends, the Bishop, the Red Skull, and just like all sorts of different and quirky matchups like the Korg in the Abyss as well, because Dr. Doom, his base attacks in the standard combo are all energy attacks, so you don't take damage back from Korg's Rock Shield, and yeah, he just dominates Korg, man. He's a really, really effective counter, arguably top 3 Korg counter, arguably even the best actually, like once you get into the rotation there. So yeah, I love Dr. Doom for Korg. Just absolutely slaughters it. Again, massive love to our boy Human Torch as well, one of the best options for the Abyss of Legends. Nick Fury as well, putting in a lot of work, especially in matchups like the Invisible Woman in the Abyss of Legends, just shuts that down and absolutely nukes that fight. Also for matchups like Green Goblin as well, Nick Fury is just absolutely amazing for, because that fight has just insane like physical and armor resistance, so your standard attacks don't really deal like any damage. However, with Nick Fury, all the damage is really from those bleeds, so just absolutely rinses that encounter there. But as long as it bleeds, man, Nick Fury can tear it apart pretty damn quickly, so he's been doing really, really well. Also, Hyperion was just an MVP for my 100% for fighting the really stacked versions of Havoc. Like, whenever there's a really big Havoc, I find personally, like, usually my best go-to option is Hyperion, just like pushing him to the special 2 with special 3s and the special 2 stun, and then just baiting that out, kind of siphoning all the plasma charges and getting rid of them via the special 2 dump on Havoc. So yeah, Hyperion I find is just amazing for big Havocs. Also Void, very valuable for the Abyss of Legends Cable, and also Hulk Ragnarok as well, just insane for those matchups, and also a bit of a substitute when it comes to the Abyss of Legends Mephisto matchup, and other like really annoying Mystic champions if you don't have a Human Torch there. So Void doing some solid work for a lot of people in the Abyss. Also Morningstar being a really, really good alternative to Dr. Doom for a lot of cosmic fights, especially I think the champion matchup and Venom the Duck is just crazy for Morningstar, because Morningstar just like is constantly spamming special 2 and nullifying all of the buffs that Venom the Duck generates, and every time he uses a special he generates like 10 buffs, so Morningstar can get that fight down in like 1 or 2 revives quite easily. So yeah, she's doing very well for a lot of players out there. And finally, Stealth Suit Spider-Man. He's a really interesting ability with the slow off of the combo, where he disables the unstoppable part of the Abyss of Legends and Rage. So if you've seen on various channels, he's been able to solo bosses like Thing and also Luke cage as well. So yeah, Spider-Man stealth suit having some very interesting uses in the Abyss of Legends there, which is really cool to see, man, because I didn't really predict him to be like one of the craziest options, but I think it's just that ability to like bypass the enrage, and as long as you can play around the unblockable, then you can get a solo on like a great number of fights. So it's a bit of an interesting one there. But ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the February 2020 tier list update. Hopefully you enjoyed today's chat about some of the changes that we've made, and let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I did chat about like last tier list that I wanted to do like a very big update, very big overhaul, and that's still to come either next month or the month after. Just this month, man, we've been so busy with my 25th birthday, the vacation to Mexico, and the release of Abyss of Legends, and doing that 100% as well. So ladies and gentlemen, if you did enjoy today's tier list update, please do me a massive favor and smash that like button. That'd be greatly appreciated. Aside from that, thank you very much for watching, take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.